StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. In today's topic, we are getting into part 3 of 4. It's supposed to be 3 parts, but it got expanded into 4 because I went long on yesterday just on one point. And this topic is businesses that you can start right now. So let's get right into it and go right into point number 5. So I'm going to do 5 and 6 today, and then we'll go into 7, 8, and 9 tomorrow. So this one, unlike my usual episodes, I'm going to have 2 points today because I did one yesterday that just basically took up the length of an entire episode. And I'm going to do 2 today, then I'll do 3 tomorrow. At least that's the plan. Now, maybe I'll go along with one of these too. We got to expand this more, but let's see. Now, before we get into this, let me remind everybody I send out a daily motivation text for free every day to everyone who's in my text community. This message is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. So text me at my number, 305-384-6894. And every morning when I send that text out, you shall receive it. Secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is where you take your next step to working with me directly. If you want to be coached by me, if you have a business idea, you want to help get off the ground, if you already have a business and you know you need some better strategies, some better systems, and better accountability, if you need to get your mind in the right place for dealing with all of those things, all of that stuff gets covered at Work on Your Game University. If you would like to be coached directly by me, you want to work directly with me, if you want someone like me to be a sounding board for you, someone who can hold space for you, you can bounce ideas off of me, I can help you really cut to the root of what the issue is and make sure we're solving the right problem, come to Work on Your Game University. Again, the link is down below in the description. It's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Let's get into it. Point number 5, businesses you can start right now is a content writing or email marketing. This is a great business to start right now simply because, for a couple reasons. Similar to the social media management job that I described earlier in point number 3 in the first episode of this series, the content or writing job is where you jump in and create material for companies and people who know they need it but either don't have the skill to do it or the time to do it or the desire to do it. They're missing one of the 3. Skill, time, and desire. And as a matter of fact, folks, if you just hold those 3 things in your mind, that is a good framework for filling in any business need. Those 3 things: skill, time, and desire. If you can supply the skill or the time or the desire that other people do not have, and you can have it for them, they will pay you for it. And almost every business, that's pretty much what you're doing. Think about it. Almost every business, that's what you're supplying. Skills or time or desire, maybe a combination of all 3. So the writing job is one of them. This will, of course, require that you have excellent writing skills. You need to be a really good writer if you're going to be a content writer or a content marketer or email marketer for any other business, even for your own business. You got to be a good writer because your writing is basically what is going to sell your stuff or not sell your stuff. And not only with the person who you are writing for, but also to their target audience. So you got to write to the person that you're writing for. You got to show them that you're good, but also you got to be able to communicate to the target audience by speaking. And again, you also got to be a good third person writer. You got to speak as if you're the other person. You got to write as if you're the other person. So you can speak to their needs and actually get the reader to do whatever the business wants them to do based on the writing. So your writing is designed to move people to action. All right, so some people call this copywriting, and you need the skill of copywriting in order to do any of this stuff. Because all copy is, when people say copywriting, we're not talking about copywriting like a trademark, like the little C with the circle. That's not that type of copywriting. That's copywriting with a copy and then RIGHT. That means rights, like rights that you own something. We're talking about copywriting, which is WRITE. That's copywriting, like you're actually writing things. So copywriting is simply writing words, any kind of words, that you use for the purpose of moving people to action. That's all copywriting is. So when I write an email and that email is designed to get you to click on a link, that's copywriting. Or if I write a headline on a sales page, that's copywriting. So anything that is written with the purpose of moving people to do something is copywriting. Whereas if you're writing maybe just to inform people or entertain, That's just writing. That's just, maybe you would call that content writing. But you have to be a very good copywriter if you're going to be an email marketer or a content marketer, because your purpose is eventually moving people to action at some point. So great writing skills, the good thing about them is that they're a transferable ability, meaning you can take great writing skills to basically any industry in which people read, which is basically every industry, and they will always be in high demand. So being a good writer is one of those skills that goes anywhere, like being a good shooter in basketball, being a good salesperson. You will always be able to find work, but you do have to be able to sell yourself. Now, this one is not as big of an opportunity as the person who can sell, not as big as the opportunity as the shooter in basketball. It is still an opportunity, however. The reason why it's not as big is because a lot of people simply don't read. I mean, this is just a truth of human nature. A lot of people do not read. Studies have shown that when people get out of school, whatever their highest level of education completed is, many people never read another book for the rest of their lives on their own volition. They never read another book on their own. People just don't read. Now, there are people who do read, and the people who do read, they spend money. They have jobs, they have careers, and they will spend money. And those are the people that you're talking to when you get into this writing space. And understand, yes, you have to have the skill of writing, and this is going to require a lot of writing. You have to be a prolific writer. You're going to get into the writing game, meaning you are taking time every single day to just write. There's a marketing guy who I know of, he's an older guy in the game, and he talked about how in his prime years when he was doing his business, he's semi-retired now, but his prime years when he was doing his business, he woke up every single day at 5 in the morning and he wrote for hours. He would take 2, 4, 5 hours every single day. This was his normal routine. He would not allow it to be interrupted, and he sat down and wrote. You have to have that type of prolificness, if that's the correct word, if you're going to get into the writing game. You got to be writing that much, and not only because of the volume of what you're putting out, but because not everything you write is even going to come out. All right, some of the stuff you're going to write, you're going to throw away because you're like, I don't like this. That was just the first draft. I got to make another one. And depending on the number of clients you have, and depending on how you want to get yourself seen, heard, and known out here, you got to be active. You got to be active in the game to get seen. So it's a lot of writing that you're going to be doing. There's an old saying, I've shared this anecdote in the past, that a professional writer was giving a lecture on writing, and somebody raised their hand at the end of his lecture during the Q&A session and said, well, you talked about how you write when you're inspired, and the thing is, this is the person in the class raised their hand and said, I can only write when I'm inspired. So how can I write as much as you? Because you were saying you got to write every day, but I only can write when I'm inspired. So how do you get yourself to write every single day? I mean, are you inspired every day? What is it? And the guy said, yeah, I am inspired every day. I decided to be inspired from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day. The whole point being, it's a metaphorical answer to let you understand that if you want to get into any game professionally, you don't always have to quote unquote feel like it in order to do your job. And I talked about that in my book called The Third Day. If you don't have that book, you can get it at thirddaybook.com. That link is down below in the description. That book is all about how you show up and do your best work even when you don't feel like working. So that's the exact point that I'm making right here. So if you're going to get into the writing space, understand you're going to be doing a lot of writing. You should be writing a lot of words every single day. You should have a minimum number of words you write every single day, and you need to be prolific, like going hard every day to make your writing better and to get your writing out there. You got to be publishing too, not just writing, but publishing. Point number 6. Today's topic, once again, is businesses that you can start right now. Point number 6, and we're going to have 2 points today because point number 4 took its own episode. Number 6, skill-specific teaching. What is that? Similar to the virtual assistant job, skill-specific teaching can go to the internet and multiply your audience. Although you can do this locally as well and person to person, as opposed to being a virtual assistant. This is something you can do locally and person to person. So skill specific, what I mean when I say that, it means you taking an ability that you have that is a highly developed ability and that most people don't have, but they do want, and then you teach it to them. That's skill specific teaching. So this requires that you have the skill of codification, because you have to take a skill that you have and you have to break it down and be able to explain it to someone who does not have that skill. That's what codification is. And I discussed codification in episode 1102, by the way. If you have not listened to that episode, you can go, actually episode 1101. Codification of your knowledge. That is at workonyourgamepodcast.com. You can catch and listen to any episode in the history of the show at workonyourgamepodcast.com. So Codification is about your ability to break down and explain something to another person in such a way that they can get a specific result that you have basically promised. Now, there are many people who can do things, but they can't explain them. So you got to be able to explain it. You also must have sales skills. You got to be able to sell your ability to teach this, whatever this specific skill happens to be, not just giving it away. So a basketball trainer, for example, can teach you how to play basketball in a certain way, or develop a certain skill in basketball, or someone who can teach you how to cook a certain dish a certain way, or a pole dancing class. The person who's teaching the class, that is a specific skill. You are taking that skill that people want, charging them to learn it from you, and this will always be an opportunity because there are always people out there who want to learn how to do certain things. So if you can teach it and you can explain it to other people, you will always have a business opportunity. Now, the thing that you're going to need for this when it comes to this 6-point skill specific teaching is, again, you have to have strong communication skills. You got to be able to sell, because you have to let people know, hey, I have the ability to teach you how to do this thing. You got to let them know that you can teach them how to do it, and you have to be able to explain to them why learning how to do that thing is actually valuable for them. What are they going to get out of it? And there are whole frameworks for this. I talk about this with people in my university all the time, is making sure people understand what are they going to get out of doing whatever it is that you want them to do. Just telling them you're going to help them do it is not enough. We often think is enough, but it's not enough. So that skill-specific teaching is a big thing. And these days you see a lot of it. You see websites like Udemy.com where people put courses up for $7 or $12. They have these courses, and there are plenty of courses up there, thousands of courses up there that people put out because they basically make it easy. They take a little cut every time you make a sale, and then you get the rest of the money, and people are teaching all types of skills. I personally, if you didn't ask for it, but I'm gonna give you my opinion on a site like that. If you really have a specific skill you can teach, you shouldn't be selling it for $12 on Udemy. And there are some people listening to this who I have already told this directly. You know who you are. And the thing is, another way, while we're on the subject, is you can take your same skill and you can teach it on your own platform where you keep all the money that gets sent to you, less your merchant fees for the transaction, and you can charge whatever amount you want. You can charge a lot more than $12. And I'm sure on Udemy there are ways you can charge more money, but the whole point is you don't need to be on their platform. What you need to do is build your own audience so you can sell directly to consumer, so you don't have to go through a middleman to get your money. You got to go through a middleman to get your money. You are in a precarious position because that middleman could decide at any time to turn off the faucet and cut you out of the deal, because all the customers belong to them. They don't belong to you. So that's a thing that you have to keep in mind here if you're going to get into skill-specific teaching. Do you have the ability to sell? Can you draw an audience? Can you build an audience? And if you're going to get into skill-specific teaching, I would suggest that you actually also get into what we talked about in point number 5. You got to be a good content marketer and email writer. Email marketer or content writer. You got to be good at making content, because whatever skill you're going to sell something on, you probably should put some free content out around it so that the people who might buy from you can see that you're actually good at that thing and you know your stuff. So if and when they're thinking about buying, they think about you because you've already proven yourself with the free samples, also known as your content. Everybody get what I'm saying here? So that's what I'm doing right now. What I'm telling you right now is exactly what I'm doing. I put out this show for free every single day as a way of allowing you to sample my ability. You are sampling how good I am at breaking things down, how good I am at explaining things, how good I am at keeping it real, my style of communication, kind of verbiage that I use, kind of ways that I talk about things, the way that I put words together. All of these are either going to sell you or repel you from wanting to work with me directly. And if and when you're ready to choose someone to work with, if you listen to enough episodes of this show, you know if I'm a person you're interested in working with or if I'm not. You already know. You listen to the show for about a week, you're pretty clear on that, whether I'm a guy you would want to work with or if I'm not. And that's what free content does. When I send out my emails, same thing. When I send out my daily motivation, same thing. All of these are just different versions of me marketing myself through content for free so that you get a sample of who I am. So then when you're ready to do something that is not free and you're ready to move and invest in yourself, you already know, all right, I already sampled this guy. I've been listening to him. I've been reading them. It's much harder when you're coming in cold. It's much harder to get somebody to buy something from you when they're coming in cold and have never heard of you before yesterday than somebody who's been listening to you every day for 6 months. Can we agree? In the sales world, we call that a warm lead, the person who already knows who you are, and the person who just heard of you yesterday, we call that a cold lead. It's not that you can't sell a cold lead. It's just harder to sell a cold lead simply because the know, like, and trust factors are not in place because they don't know you, they can't like you, and they can't trust you because they just heard of you. But somebody who's been following you for a while, the know, like, and trust factors already exist. It's not guaranteed that that will end up in a sale, but it is much easier because the rapport is already in place, even if it's your first time having a direct conversation with that individual. So it'll always be an opportunity to do skill-specific teaching if you have the ability to do so. So with that said, let's recap these 2 points from today's class. And these are, we're on part 3 of 4 now on businesses you can start right now. Number 5 is content writing and email marketing. Understand that people, and this is something I should have said in point number 5, people trust what they read more than they trust what they hear. So if you're going to do a business deal with somebody, what do you trust more? What they say they're going to do, or if they present you with a written agreement, i.e. a contract? Which one do you trust more, the contract or what they say they're going to do over a phone call, or they text it to you, or they say it in Zoom? Which one is more trustworthy? Which one will stand up in a court if it went that far? Probably the content. I mean, not the content, excuse me, the thing that's written down, right? So we trust what we see more than we trust what we hear. That's why writing will always have value, even if a lot of people don't read. So always develop your ability to write, because it's a form of communication, and you know how much I talk about the value of communication here on this show. Communication is not just what you say, it's also if you can put something in writing, that is communication. It's one-to-one, it's also one-to-many, and it's also what you consume. Consumption, what you hear and what you see are also forms of communication. Number 6, skill-specific teaching. This is your ability to take a certain skill that other people want, charge money for it, and teach it to them. Help them get a specific outcome based on that skill. So any skill you have that is more developed than the average person, you can sell it to the people who don't have your level. And understand, you don't have to be the best in the world at what you do to teach it. When I was selling basketball training programs, I was probably not recognized by anyone as the best player in the world. At that time, you had Kobe Bryant, you had LeBron James, you had Dwayne Wade was out there, you had all kinds, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, you had all kinds of players out there that most people, if they had to compare them to me, they would say, hey, I love Dre's stuff, but I got to go with LeBron on this one. I was still able to sell my stuff. Why? Because I was selling to people who I knew more than them. So you don't have to know more than everybody. Just got to know more than the people that you're selling to. And this requires you having marketing skills, sales skills, and you should probably be a very strong communicator, written and spoken format, because that's the only way people are going to know that you actually have the ability and that they should pay you for it. So with that said, text me and let me know you want to get the daily motivation that I send out for free every single morning, free of charge to everyone in my text community. Text me at this number, 305-384-6894. Every day when that message goes out, you'll receive it. And you are ready to take one of these ideas you're hearing and put it to good use. Or maybe you already got an idea, you're already working on it, and you want some help with your mindset, your strategy, your systems, and or your execution and accountability in your business. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and let me get to work with you directly, and let's get to work and making this thing happen right now. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.